Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This will be the first episode of a crazy man's insane, innate, just kind of cringe ramblings. Now, now I've, I'm only 20 years old at the moment of recording this, and it seems like everyone here in the last few couple of years, like last 2 or 3 years, has their own podcast. So, you know what? I figured I'd give it a shot. I talked to myself enough, so no, this isn't going to be much different. Might as well record myself for someone to enjoy. For historical purposes, this is being recorded on January 30th, 2024 at 11:08 precisely. So for all of you historians out there, there's your definite dates. So, not really sure where to start this, but I'll just kind of start, saying whatever and we'll see where we go from there. So, like I said, seems like everyone these days has a podcast. Last couple of years we've seen big names like Joe Rogan, Jay Schlatt, uh, Matt Pat from Game Theory. Every famous individual, and even some just kind of normal everyday Joe Blows have their own podcast. So I figure, I'm notorious for talking to myself quite a lot. And that's something, I tend to confuse people about. So figured anytime I talk to myself, I'm just gonna hit the record button and just talk. Figure maybe somebody will get something out of my ramblings. Maybe they'll learn a thing or two. Maybe maybe they'll think a little differently about a few things. Who knows? I apologize if the mic recording quality on this is shit. It's not exactly a high-end setup. It's just a set of headphones with a microphone connected to a phone through USB-C. So, you know, not exactly $100,000 rig here. But I think where I want to start this first episode off is just kind of talking about, who I am and what I enjoy doing. So, my name is Jacob Alexander May, and that's with one L in Alexander. I am from the United States. Not sure I want to get more specific than that quite yet, but I'm from the United States. And being here in the States, I have a bit of a different look on life than a ton of people in the world. Not exactly the most sane look at life, maybe, but it is a look at life. Um, I don't know. Can you tell I'm kind of improvising it? You can tell I have no damn idea what I'm doing, can't you? Um, Gaming. Let's start with gaming. I enjoy a good video game or two. I have quite a few thousand hours put into a good handful of video games over the years that I've played. From FPS games, first person shooters, to top down strategy games, to just RTSs, RPGs. I've played like two JRPGs. Yeah, I'm not exactly the kind of guy that really pays attention to a ton of flavor of the month games. So I think I'm going to start off by giving a really good example of a game that I really enjoy playing. And my PC setup is being fussy, so I might not be able to get exact details on things. If I can get it working, I'll give it to you. But um, one of my favorite games of all time is this wonderful game that is, as of recording this, 10 years old now. It's called Payday 2. Payday 2. And even 10 years after its initial release, it still has one of, if not the most dedicated fan bases of any video game ever. It's got an active modding community, it's got an active content creator community, it's got just about everything any successful game ever, excuse me, anything any successful video game would ever need. And it has officially been designated as a dead game because its sequel, Payday 3, has been released and it's been out for a handful of months now to very negative or mixed results. Depends on who you ask. But generally speaking, it's very negative results. It's suffering the same issues that all modern gaming is suffering at the minute. From in game transactions to poor development quality to being rushed out of development to just about everything you can think of going wrong with the game short of it crashing constantly, which it has been known to do. Um, Payday 3 has been a game that has been anticipated for many years now. And after its disastrous release earlier, well, I say earlier, but late last year, after its disastrous release late last year, early this year, we have a lot of people going back to Payday 2. Not Payday 1, but Payday 2, because Payday 2 is where the Payday franchise really started to spread its wings a bit. It's where a lot of people started playing Payday was Payday 2. I suppose I should start explaining before those of you who aren't in the loop get mad at me. So, Payday 2 is a crime FPS game. If you've watched any kind of crime-based movies in your life, then you pretty much get the gist of the general gameplay loop of Payday 2, which is shoot people, steal shit, escape. That's generally how a Payday 2 heist goes. Now, where Payday 2 switches it up is how it handles those heists, what those heists consist of, and generally, just how things work in the game. It is a very, very, very old game, but make no mistake, this game is toe to toe with even the most high budget AAA game development releases these days. Baldur's Gate 3 ain't got shit on Payday 2, let me tell you. Halo Infinite ain't got shit on Payday 2. Little bit of context. Uh, Payday 2 has had an amazing 10 years worth of development support, community, and just overall being one of the best games I've ever had the privilege to play. Created by Starbreeze Studios and published. Hang on, let me double check myself here. Was Starbreeze the publisher or the producer? Payday 2. I'm searching this up real quick just to make sure I don't catch myself in a no. Payday 2. Okay, here we go. I thought so. So, Overkill Software created the game. Overkill Software being a game development studio owned by Starbreeze Studios, but was published by 505 Games. It's had a console version, which has since had its support completely cut. It has a PC version on Steam and certain other online web fronts, which works perfectly fine. And is a majority of the way of how people play Payday 2. Is through the most popular storefront being Steam, the storefront owned by Valve. I'm trying my best not to just go on innate ramblings, but I'm really, really failing here, I think. But I'm going to keep this all in one cut because I don't believe in editing. I don't believe in hiding how I am, how I ramble. I don't believe in any of that. I'm just going to give it to you how I see it, how I say it, how I do it, whole shebang. Um, where to go with Payday 2? Payday 2 has a lot of people coming back to it from Payday 3, the much anticipated sequel, because Payday 3 was a massive flop that wound up disappointing just about everybody. From cut content to unfinished release to multiple paid DLC for a game that literally can take you hours to get into a single match for because it's an online only game. Payday 2 is the paragon of how a game should be. It's got a both online and offline mode. It has, to this day, even though it is considered a dead game by its developers, it still has bug patches, it still has bug fixes. I'm not sure how much longer that's going to go on for, but I would hope for many years to come if there's any bugs left to fix. Hmm. And make no mistakes, for as good of a game as Payday 2 is, it has had its fair share of bugs and glitches. And it has had its fair share of patches to fix said bugs and glitches. Because Payday 2, for the many of you who probably don't know this, especially those of you who are just now getting into the Payday scene because of Payday 3, Payday 2 is built off of a game engine known as Diesel. Diesel with a D, as in the specialized fuel that goes in big rig trucks, big old Mack trucks. The diesel engine was originally created for racing games, and Payday 2 was originally going to be a racing game that went by a completely different name that I do not have the patience to sit here and try to search up, but I'm sure somebody in the comments of this video will have it posted. So just, pop on down there, have a look. If not, I'll come back and make a comment or two, seeing if I can find the information later. Mind you, I'm not a huge content creator or internet historian. I'm a normal historian. I love studying history, but I'm still a relatively new Payday 2 player myself. I've only been playing Payday the last 3 years. So, I don't know everything there is to know about Payday, but long and short of it is this. Alright, all this innate rambling is to say this. I have 831 hours in this game as of right now. And I'm looking directly at my Steam page here. 831 hours on Steam. Plus, like, the small handful, like 10 to 12 hours I had on console before I switched to PC. Originally, it started life as a racing game, was going to be a racing game, but then plans changed in development. There's a huge push for a sequel to Payday, the Heist, which was the first game, because remember, Payday 2 is a sequel to Payday the Heist. Um, there's a huge push for a sequel to Payday 2, and it was originally going to be a racing game first, but there was no interest in any of the other projects at the time. Starbreeze, or I'm sorry, Overkill Studios, software, Overkill Software. All right, I'm gonna use Studio Software as a interchangeable thing. Okay, deal with it. Sorry, I don't mean to be so aggressive. I'm really shit at talking. Like just flat out. I fuck up when I talk to myself. So, don't feel too bad if you get mad at me. But was originally going to be a racing game. None of the other projects really got any hype or funding or any kind of actual interest. So what they had to do to save the studio was develop a sequel to a game called Payday the Heist, because they knew that would guarantee sales. And in 2013, it released for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. And safe to say, it was a smash hit. 10 years later, worth of development and of support and a community full of literal millions of people making mods for this game still, playing this game still, doing any number of things about or for this game. Safe to say it was a smash hit. Even if you don't count the people coming back from Payday 3 to Payday 2, it is still one of the biggest communities out there. And for damn good reason. This game has an incredible amount of love put into it. It is got so much as far as player freedom that you just don't see in games anymore. Payday 2 consists of multiple weapon classes with several weapons in those classes, with several skills, perk decks, which are basically specializing into certain skills. You've got your general skill trees, such as, my objective based action goes faster, or my explosive C4 that I use to blow open the doors on objectives. I can carry more of those, but you got your general skill tree such as that. Or my gun carries more ammo, or my gun is more stable, or my gun is more accurate. Or you get your perk decks, which are specializing into a certain play style. Not just a certain skill, but into a certain play style and set of skills. I think it was Liam Neeson that said, I have a very specific set of skills. If you're running a Payday 2 perk deck, you have a certain set of skills. But yeah. But generally speaking, when it comes to perk decks in Payday 2, you can have any different number of ways to play. There are basically you can play this game in probably hundreds of different ways. And that is by no means an understatement. There are probably hundreds of ways to play this game. From a typical sentry laying engineer to a shotgun junkie to a long distance sniper rezzing people from afar to a grenade slinging jackass blowing up your teammates in multiplayer. Now there's hundreds of ways to play this game. Um, and the game makes it incredibly easy with 6 difficulties to choose from to, eventually find your sweet spot. Me personally, for the longest time, I only played up to overkill difficulty, which was 3 out of 6. Here lately, the last handful of years, I've been playing Mayhem, which was 4 out of 6 skulls. Um, Generally speaking, 6 out of 6 skulls is the hardest difficulty in the game if you do not count special modifiers, such as, you only get downed once and then your game is over. But it's 6 out of 6 skulls is the hardest difficulty, and you have to seriously hug a meta in order to make it anywhere at that difficulty. You have to hug a meta incredibly tightly. You cannot make any mistakes or you are done, generally speaking. There are some absolute legends out there who don't have to do that, but I'm not one of them, nor do I desire to be. Now, I'm going to let them have their fame and glory as it is. Bit more about Payday 2 itself as a game. Aside from all the gushing I could do, general basics, a bunch of different missions in the game to play, infinite replayability because Payday 2, the way it's coded, the way the game works internally, is that while you can play the same heist multiple times in a row, it will never be the same multiple times in a row. It has every heist in the game, every mission in the game has some element of RNG to it, random number generation. And what that means is every time you play that heist or that mission in the game, something will be different about it. It could be the smallest thing of, this ammo bag is in a different place, or this key card is in a different place. Or it could be something as big as, the vault I need to break into is now surrounded by guards instead of it being basically out in the open, free from interference. It, Payday 2 is replayability done right. You could play the same mission 6 different times and get four different ways to do it. You just, I know it's hard for me to properly describe and enunciate how big that is for me, but there are tons of games out there that try as hard as they can to make you play them over and over and over again to get your $60 or $70 worth out of them. But Payday 2 just does it as naturally as it breathes. Six different playthroughs, four different ways to have played it. And aside from those four different ways to have played it, you got the option of going stealth, silent assassin, you know, uh, what's the fucker from Metal Gear? I can't remember his damn name. But you could go Metal Gear style stealth, or you can go absolute John Wick badass, all guns firing, just go absolutely bonkers with grenade launchers and assault rifles. Um, but you could just go absolutely bonkers in this game, or you can go the stealthy route. But Payday 2 has basically infinite replayability, and the game not only rewards you with that infinite replayability with the dedication of, hey, I get to play this heist a different way this time around. There's a prestige, not really a prestige system. Prestige system's the wrong word, but there is a enhanced reward system called Infamy, where you level up to a certain extent. In Payday 2's case, you get XP from every heist you complete to rank up to level 100. And then once you hit level 100, you could hit a big old reset button, and that reset will get you one rank in Infamy. But you can get a reward from that Infamy that you can't get in any other way. It could be a special mask. It could be a XP boost, a permanent XP boost, I should add. It could be a new outfit. It could be a new, gun skin. It could be anything. It could be any number of things. There's, last I checked, 200 something levels of Infamy. There's like 250 levels of Infamy. And I myself, having 830 hours in this game, am only at Infamy like 26. So you can play this game for absolute donkey's years and not be anywhere close to finished with it. And aside from that, on the official Steam page, it says there are 1,328 achievements. Think about that. Just under 1,500 achievements. I have 617 of them. Now, granted, and keep this in mind, a lot of those achievements are your typical, oh, beat this mission on this difficulty type of achievement. With like 40 or 50 something heists in the game, a lot of those are going to be, oh, beat the heist on this difficulty. Um, but there's also other heists like housekeeping, or sorry, not heists, but achievements like housekeeping, where you have to do a job in a specific way. Or you do basically a marathon achievement like Friends in High Places, where you complete all of one person's missions on overkill difficulty or above. And the person in question here is a contractor by the name of the Elephant. That's a whole different thing. I'll probably leave that for another episode, but safe to say, this game is absolutely amazing, and I am so grateful to have had a copy of it as long as I have. This is probably one of the few games I'm never ever going to truly put down. I'll probably take a month break here and there. But other than that, I will never put this game down. Ever. I can't. It's too fun to play. Um this it's especially funny because I even have me and a bunch of other players have PTSD from one of the enemies in this game called the Cloaker. If you know, you know. Alright, I'm not gonna subject you to it here if you're new, but play Payday 2 for a while, or just Google Payday 2 cloaker noise, and you run into that enough, you will eventually get triggered by it every time you hear it. What else? Right. I am so sorry. Like I said, like I said previously, I go on complete fucking tangents all the time, but I wanted to talk about one of my favorite heists in Payday 2. It's a newer one. It's got mixed reviews. Uh, Something about the way this heist is laid out, some people like, some people don't. Personally, I really like it. This is one of the stealth missions in the game that you can also, well, it's not a dedicated stealth mission. There are dedicated stealth missions in Payday 2. They are few and far between, but just about every mission in the game can be played stealth or loud. Loud being guns blazing, stealth being, super quiet, suppressed pistols, sneaking around, being sneaky, sneaky. Um, but the heist is Black Cat, is what it's called. It takes place on this giant cruise ship owned by this Japanese mafia family, I think essentially is what it boils down to. I'm not exactly the smartest guy, but I think it pretty much boils down to like Japanese mafia. But yeah, it's a cruise ship owned by a Japanese mafia family, and you are there to get revenge for a friend of yours who they tortured. You can do this through the main objective of it is to steal all their money. Personal bonus points if you kill the bastards. Um, and make no mistake, they're not good people. They are far from good people. Um, they are ruthless, cunning, and just overall, they do not hesitate to torture pretty much innocent people, like your buddy Vlad, one of your contractors, who very quickly becomes your friend in the story of Payday 2. And that's another thing. This game has a story to it. It's not just mindless, pick a mission and run with it. This game has a story. If you pay attention and you play through it and you do certain things, you will see this game has a story. But you don't have to have the story to enjoy the game. It can just be fun romps through fun maps, or you can play through the story to be a lore hunter. It really lends itself to however you want to play, however dedicated you want to be to A, B, or C. But back to the Black Cat heist. Big old cruise ship with a big old vault of money on board. Your job is to decide how to get to that money, get the money, and escape. Preferably with the money, because that's why you got there in the first place. You can do this through stealth or loud. Stealth has you sneaking around the cruise ship with your suppressed weapon of choice, and it will have to be suppressed because, unsuppressed weapons will set off literally everybody if you try to kill someone with one that isn't suppressed. Um, Personally, I choose the 5.7 AP pistol, which is based off of the FN 5.7. Very very nice pistol. In game, it's got a very bad ammo economy, but it hits like a truck. It is something else. But point is, back to the point. You can stealth around, um, get close to the people, you're there kind of to get revenge on, steal their key card. Used to be key cards, but it's been updated since then. But now it's a code to get into the vault and a handprint. The handprint is the big one. You can get the code all day long. Now, that just requires you drilling into a safe, which has the code inside. One of the fellas, and they have Japanese names, so I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce them because I know I will absolutely butcher it to hell. Um, One of these fellas is out in the spa part of the cruise ship, and you just go into his private massage room, you move a painting, and the safe with the code in it is behind the painting. You just drill open the safe, um, and you get the code. Just make sure you have a point in the very first drill skill of the tech tree, or of the skill tree, because otherwise the drill is going to be loud and it's going to set everybody off. But what am I doing? I'm not a fucking game tutorial. like I said, tangents upon tangents. Yeah, you get the code and you sneak your way from there, from the very front of the ship, all the way into the back, into this casino, this massive, beautiful, gold inlet, jade statue toting casino. And what the other fella you got to get something from is up in the top of the casino in this glass office overlooking everything. I've never played it stealth all the way through. I've always gotten caught right at the casino because I suck at stealth in this game. Loud is where I specialize. But generally, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to get the code from the guy at the very front of the ship in the spa, sneak your way into the casino, get the handprint of the second guy, um, get the handprint of the second guy using molding wax, and use those two things combined. Sneak your way down to the vault, open the vault using those two things, steal the money, throw it over the side of the ship because you have someone on the outside collecting the money in a little dinghy, and escape by using some diesel you can find on board and jumping into your own speedboat to get away. It's a pretty fun stealth experience from people who enjoy stealth, as far as I can tell. But for those of us who prefer loud, it's very challenging unless you specifically train stealth in Payday 2. If you specifically train yourself to play stealth, then I'm sure this is an absolute breeze for you. But for those of us who like to go on with a bang, it is pretty gut wrenching to have to sit there and sneak our way through a big old ship full of targets. Um, how this heist plays in loud is you board the ship, and there's multiple ways to board the ship. You can board it loud, you can board it quiet and then go loud when you're ready, or you can just stay quiet up until the very last minute. How I prefer to do it is just board loud. That way, I've already got my mask on, I've got my weapon, I've got everything I need, already set up and ready to go. So, I'm straight, I'm set. Excuse me while I munch on a Cheez-It real quick. Fucking love these things. Probably the best snack in the universe. It's a Cheez-It. The I think like the white pepper jack ones are really good too. But back to the heist. Um, you board the ship via helicopter pad, or in the crew quarters if you're starting off stealth. Or I'm sorry, not crew quarters. You can do crew quarters, but that requires a perk in the game. I'm sorry, not a perk, a skill, an aced out skill in the skill tree called insider knowledge. But the point is, you can wait up until the very last minute to go loud if you want to, but you can go loud in the heist. Now, what you can do, there's two different ways you can handle it loud. And one is you go about it the same way as you would stealth, which is a lot easier uh, than doing it stealth because obviously stealth, you're worried about sneaking around and you're worried about getting caught and all this other stuff. You're worried about hiding bodies. You're worried about not setting off the guards by answering too many pagers or having to answer too many pagers in the first place. Because you basically, the way stealth works in the game is you kill 4 guards and that's it. If you kill one more, the alarm will automatically go off and now you're forced into loud, meaning you have next to no chance of surviving because you've built yourself up to be stealth. You have no armor. But if you go in there loud, you get all the same objectives as you would in stealth. The code, the handprint. You go open the vault like normal and grab the cash, you toss it overboard. Or, and this is my favorite way to do it, underneath the deck, underneath the deck of the ship in the crew quarters, on the crew deck of the ship. How you get there is you enter the ship through, let's say, the helicopter pad. You look to the right, there's a set of stairs going up. You go up those stairs, to the right, forward, to the left, through the double doors, to the right, down the stairs that are in front of you, and in that area there should be one of two doors says crew quarters or crew deck, one of the two. And you go into that door. You might need to find a key card first to open the door, depends on how you set everything up, but you can enter the crew deck. And in the crew deck, there's a room full of supplies. A thing of diesel, a thing of thermite, a thing of C4. And my favorite way to do it loud is with the C4. The way you complete it with C4 is you blow the wall up behind the vault. After finding the C4, that is. You find the C4, you get it, you take it, and you blow up the wall behind the vault. You then use 4 saws to saw apart the support structures tying the vault to the ground and to the ceiling. And then you use a winch to pull it out into the open of the garden on the ship. And you use a helicopter to lift it up and away out of the ship, taking the vault and the money inside with the helicopter. That is quite possibly the most frustrating way to do that heist, purely because of sniper fire and choke points. But to me, it is the absolute funnest way to do that heist loud. If you're going to do it loud, is using the C4 to just rip the vault out of the wall. Um, yeah, that is my favorite way to do the Black Cat heist loud. I have never completed it stealth. I do not like stealth in Payday 2. I commend you if you do. I highly recommend you at least give it a try. Payday 2 stealth. But, if you wind up not liking it, I won't feel bad. Even if you don't like playing the game stealth, there are some positives to playing it in a stealth built manner. There's a mechanic in the game called dodge, and another mechanic called concealment. Concealment is just, oh, I don't have some big old gun, setting off the guards every time I move around. It's literally your stealth factor, essentially, is, oh, how detectable am I? Your dodge is quite literally, you know the saying, I dodged a bullet? Well, Payday 2's dodge is quite literally your chances of dodging a bullet out of 100. The highest you can go is 40. I believe it's 40 or 45, depending on your perk deck and skill choice. But the highest you can go is at 45% chance to dodge a bullet. And what that is you just straight up don't take damage when you dodge a bullet. You just don't take damage. They shoot you, nothing happens, other than they've wasted a bullet. But and the enemies in this game have unlimited ammunition, so it's not like even that counts to you. But for those of you who specialize in dodge builds, kind of pop down to the comments below, kind of just explain in depth, if you would, how it works. But running a dodge build can be very fun. But the kicker is, if you're running a dodge build, you have no Kevlar, you have no armor. So, on the odds that you get really bad RNG and you just don't get those rolls the way you need to, as far as not taking damage because you dodged a bullet, you take a ton of damage and that's it, you're down. You get three downs in this game, which are basically your lives. You get down 3 times. After the 4th time, you're out. And that's it. You're out. The quest is or the heist is failed. Unless you are playing multiplayer and your buddies can, take a hostage to get you out of custody, which is just like you're in the gulag essentially. If you're familiar with like Call of Duty or CS:GO or TabG, it's kind of like a gulag, but instead of it being, you duel somebody for your freedom, you just kind of sit there and wait for a while until your buddies can take a hostage to get you free. But if you're playing solo, which I do, like out of the 830 hours I have on record, 800 of those have been solo only because I don't like playing with people. And the two or three times I have played multiplayer on this game has been, you know, lobbies infested with verified cheaters who use hacks to utterly break the game. So, I don't play with people. I wish I could, but I don't. I don't. But point is, three downs after the fourth one, you're out. But if you get really good RNG where you're just dodging bullets left, right, and crooked, you're basically immortal up until your luck runs out. But if you run the exact opposite, wearing a ton of armor, you're getting hit every time, guaranteed, but you have a ton of armor to kind of dampen it. And depending on how you have your skills and your perk deck and all that, can determine just how flexible you are. That's just kind of how that just comes down to character creation, really. How you build your character. But I don't know. I just wanted to take a moment to kind of ramble a bit. I don't know. Like I said, this is episode one. Episode one, take two, because the first take I utterly fucked up like a moron, doing something stupid. But you know, in this case now, I'm literally just recording a video on my camera with the camera covered up. That's why it's a black screen right now. Because I don't have a dedicated audio software, and frankly, I'm not worried about it. I'm genuinely not worried about a dedicated audio software. So I'm just going to record basically blank video with just my voice dubbed over everything. Not even dubbed, just straight up recorded into it. Um, but yeah, I've taken up way too much of your time already. If you're still here, why are you here? Go do your homework. Go do your homework. Go mow the lawn. Go take out the trash. Do something. You've wasted 42 minutes of your life that you'll never get back. No, I'm totally fucking with you. I'm totally fucking with you. I appreciate you being here. I really do. Um, Probably gonna look at keeping these audios backed up somewhere because my phone does not have infinite storage. It's got a terabyte in it, I think, but it's still not infinite storage. So I'm probably gonna have these zipped up in a zip folder and backed away somewhere. Probably on an external drive, on a flash drive or something, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that was just episode one, Crazy Man Ramblings. This particular episode, my favorite heist in Payday 2. This has been Jacob May from the United States, rambling like a crazy man. Uh, kind of just shooting the shit, talking to you. Maybe these audios will make you feel a little less lonely in the world. Maybe there's a fellow kindred spirit out there who, maybe feels a little lonely and talks to themselves as a way to cope, like I do. And maybe this will make you feel a little bit, a little happier. Maybe it'll make the day a little easier to go by. Worst case scenario, no one listens to these, but best case scenario, maybe I do a little bit of good. You know what? It ain't curing cancer, but if these audios wind up doing some good to somebody, I say I can die a happy man, having done something in this world worth remembering. To the hypothetical listener, and I do mean hypothetical because there's no way in hell this video will see the light of day, goodbye, and see you next episode. Thank you for listening. Good night. Stay safe. Auf Wiedersehen. Arrivederci.